Today we are going to talk about the Golden Age of Athens. This time period occurs after the Persian War. And this was a time where everything in Athens happened. All of the buildings that you see, all of the things that you think about when you think about ancient Greece, most of them come from this time period, this Golden Age. Now, we looked at what a Golden Age was when we studied the Golden Gupta Empire of India. It's a time where everything is happening and there's big contributions. The Golden Age of Athens is also called Classical Greece. And when we get to Rome, we are going to learn that ancient Greece and ancient Rome are called the Classics. But don't worry about that right now. Classical Greece happened at about 500 to 300 BC. Okay, so for about 200 years, this was a time of peace and prosperity. Okay, prosperity is all really good things happening. And remember, the dates go backward from 500 to 300 because it is BC. We are on the negative side of the timeline. Okay? We will also call this time period the Golden Age. We'll call it the Golden Age of Pericles. Okay, so be ready to learn different names for the same time period. So let's talk about Athens, because to understand what happened, we need to understand everything about Athens. So you'll remember when we left off, Athens and Sparta and the rest of the city-states had just won the Persian War. This was a time of peace because the city-states are united for the very first time. They don't have to worry about getting attacked by another city-state. They also do not have to worry about the Persian army anymore. So they have time to concentrate on things that they like to do, not just worry about military battle. Athens was named after the goddess of war, and we all know the goddess of war is Athena. In fact, we're going to learn about a building where her statue is right in the middle of it. Oh, there's the building. This is the Parthenon. A Parthenon is the temple to honor Athena. It is in Athens. In the middle, there is a statue of Athena. The way we remember the word Parthenon is to remember that there is only part of the roof showing. So you can see that I've drawn what the roof might have looked like, and just remember, the Parthenon only has part of the roof showing. Athens was famous for art, democracy, architecture, drama, medicine, science, and philosophy. Okay? Democracy was the type of government that they had. And it was the very first one. So when you think of democracy, think of Athens. Architecture is buildings and styles of buildings. We just saw one with the Parthenon. Drama are plays, comedies, tragedies. We'll get into that a little bit later. And philosophy was asking the deep questions of life. Questions like, why do we exist? It was also known for beauty and culture. The people of Athens were well educated and very intellectual. This means that they thought about things very deeply. The three people that you see in the picture are Plato, Socrates, and Aristotle. These were three philosophers. We'll get into them later. Athens Athens was a peaceful society. Education was very important. Philosophy was very important. Books, drama, architecture, and art were very important. If we were in Sparta, we might say that fighting is very important and military is very important. So this was very different culture in Athens. So let's find out who the leader of Athens was during the Golden Age. His name was Pericles. That's that name there at the top. So sometimes we call this time period the Golden Age of Pericles. And he was a very popular leader. And he was able to rule for 32 years. He was wise, fair, honest, and very famous. People liked Pericles. And this time period started when he was in power. Pericles really wanted to make Athens great. So people, when they would hear about Greece, they would want to come to Athens. Parts of Athens were destroyed because of the Persian Wars. Pericles rebuilt Athens, so he spent money to make the city beautiful. This building up here, this is the Parthenon, high above the city. There it is again. This is a photograph. So take a look. That's how much is remaining 2,000 plus years later. It's very, very impressive. And remember, the Parthenon, because only part of the roof. The picture that you just saw was on top of the Acropolis. Now, if you remember, the word polis means city-state. An acropolis is the highest area in a city where important buildings and temples were located. It was also a fort to protect the city. You want that up high. Pericles was leader during the age of democracy in Athens. And in a democracy, the people have the power. Now let's look at contributions of Greek culture to the world. Contributions are people that offer up a new idea or a technology or a great piece of art or writing. Architecture. We've talked about this. These are the way buildings are built, and a lot of buildings look or copy Greek architecture. Let's take a look at these buildings in Washington, D.C. The Thomas Jefferson Memorial. This part looks like the front of the Parthenon with the columns. We learned about columns. We built columns. Does anyone know what building this is? It's the U.S. Capitol building. You see the white marble. You see the columns. How about this building? The Thomas Jefferson Monument and Memorial, again, have that white marble and columns. And we did this because of democracy. So we have our three columns here: Doric, Ionic, Corinthian. Doric is a little bit dull. It's plain. It looks like a door. Ionic looks like eyes. Corinthian, maybe it looks like a crown. Now think of the Spanish word for crown. Make sure you know these. in your notes, go ahead and try to draw each column, and you have to be able to recognize them. Doric, Ionian, Corinthian. Again, the Doric columns are very plain and very simple. Corinthian columns, they look like a crown. And again, think of the Spanish word for crown. It sounds very similar. Ionian column has eyes. Look at all of these features, all of these buildings around the world with the columns. Now you try to name them.